Pick number 5, pick number 20 for the Seahawks. What's their optimum dream scenario?
I think dream scenario for them is Jalen Carter at 5, the Georgia defensive tackle. That just feels like a place where he would thrive, right? Like Michael Bennett was I don't want to say it came with similar off-field concerns. Carter's unique in what has gone on over the past 6 months in his life. But the staff that they have in place, Pete Carroll, John Schneider, have shown a willingness and ability to, I guess, foster growth in players with off-field and character. That's been like they've had a lot of guys who, when they're there, you don't hear anything about them, and then when they leave, Earl Thomas is, fighting his brother because they got in a little love triangle. Like there's weird stuff happens when they all leave the Seahawks, but when they're in Seattle, things go well. So I do think that'd be a great landing spot, not only for him, but for the Seahawks as well with that roster. And then at pick 20, I've gone back and forth on this. I think with their mold and with the picks they have in the second round, that's where they draft cornerback. Cornerback's obviously knee on that roster. You get one other guy across from Tariq Woolen, and I think you have a great secondary there in the making. I'm going wide receiver here, and I'm going Zay Flowers. I don't know, I'm giving everyone wide receivers at this point, but I think Jalen Carter and Zay Flowers is an electric first round to lead. Like that is a shot in the arm right there for 12 Nation Seahawks fans. Like that would be, in my opinion, one of the best first rounds of anyone if they walked away with that.
Yeah, I got to admit, I had Jalen Carter for them when I first wrote this article and then found myself wanting to put Carter somewhere else. So pivoted and I decided that Will Anderson is basically as good a dream scenario for them as Jalen Carter. I think it's the same thing. They need defensive line. They could use an upgrade interior. They could use an upgrade opposite Uchenna Nwosu. So either way, I think it works. And I think it's not obviously. There's a reasonable chance at this point that Jalen Carter slips based off his off-field thing, but it wouldn't take that much for Will Anderson to make it to pick 5 either. So I like that. Either one of those I think works for them as a dream scenario. And pick 20, we're in the same area. Like I went wide receiver as well. I think Jordan Addison would be a fantastic receiver in this offense. Addison to me is starting to get more and more underrated as this whole thing goes. USC wide receiver, not TCU as it's there on the graphic. But I think Addison is getting overlooked. Like his size was not concerning, but his size wasn't great. His workout numbers weren't great. And all of a sudden, like all the attention's just going everywhere else, whether it's Zay Flowers, whether it's Smith and Jigba. I just think Addison is too good to not be good, like too good at everything.
Too good to not be good. I will say his size is a little concerning for me. But I agree with that sentiment of he's too good not to be good. He really is that kind of, I think I likened him to, he moves the way like high-end soccer players move, and that it's just like easy for him to do. It may not be the fastest, the most explosive, but it's the ease of which he goes through everything that's just like, damn. I think he's a real high floor at the next level. Yeah. I do worry about the size in terms of can he be an outside guy, but landing spot wise, he goes to Seattle and they don't need an outside guy. They have 2 of those already. He is your slot. And I think he's very crafty in that regard and can be a high end slot receiver at the next level. So yeah, I think either of those 2 guys, you'd be really happy to have at receiver.
Yeah, it's another spot where even if he's only a slot for Seattle at 20, I think that's perfect. Like that's the thing they need the most, to the point where I was considering, is a Dalton Kincaid a great landing or an ideal spot for them? Like maybe not a slot, but a tight end that can work the middle of the field and, add that and still be a vertical threat. That was the other sort of thing I was thinking.
Not a Noah Fant fan?
Yeah, not really. That was the other thing I was thinking, though, when I was trying to like pair them with potential weapons is even if I'm looking for a guy who plays the slot, I would like that slot to be a vertical threat and give Geno Smith as many of those as possible.
Yeah, that's where, that's that offense. That's where he excels. That's what they're built to do. So that's, I think either Addison or Zay Flowers or even Dalton Kincaid if he's available. another weapon would be sweet.
I mean, the crazy thing about Geno Smith is he didn't just take over from Russell Wilson and essentially immediately follow on with like the best quarterback season that Seattle have had, but he also picked up where Wilson left off as like the best deep ball thrower in the NFL, which was kind of weird.
That was his game back at West Virginia. Now, it was not his game with the Jets or the Giants, but it was a wild sort of emergence for him. And also like why quarterback development, I think, still matters. Still like fostering these guys that we just need to reset expectations of what it should look like at the NFL level.
And it's going to help when you have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett to throw too. I mean, there's a big part of deep ball throwing in particular that is very wide.
Guys who are open.
Driven. Yeah. Like, I mean, remember Joe Burrow, right? Rookie year. It's like, why can't Joe Burrow complete a deep pass? And then all of a sudden you put Jamar Chase back in his offense and he becomes immediately one of the better deep ball throwers in the NFL. Like, it's having a guy that you know can get open and are trusting to put the ball in the air is kind of important.